Welcome to Downsizing Made Easy. My name is John Mazzara with Remax Results, and I'll be teaching the class today. It's actually going to be broken into two parts. The first one, we're going to go over just in general downsizing, some of the demographic trends and other considerations. And then next, we're going to talk about real estate. And my guess is that some of you have a home to sell, and some of the things have changed over the course of time in the real estate business since you've been involved with buying or selling a home. Quite a bit, actually. I started selling homes back in 1986, so this is my 35th year. But anyway, I'll be going over that in the next section. So today we're going to start with sharing my screen and taking a look at a PowerPoint presentation. Okay. First thing we're going to talk about is downsizing made easy. And we want to talk about the 5 easy steps to a successful move. Simplifying your life should not leave you overwhelmed. It should leave you overjoyed. Okay, I am your instructor. Again, my name is John Mazzara. I'm with Remax Results in Edina, Minnesota, and I've been helping homeowners throughout the Twin Cities since 1986 and over 1,000 homes sold. Okay, downsizing made easy starts with 5 steps. And the very first step is creating a plan. You may have heard before the cliche, if you don't have a plan, then your plan is to fail. That's like with anything in life. If you don't know where your destination is, how are you going to get there? Part of making a move and downsizing is actually making that move. And my guess is that you've thought about it. That's why you're here. And you thought maybe you'd do it sooner, and you haven't. And the reason being is that it's overwhelming to think about all of the steps. One of the biggest one would be just simply removing all of stuff that you've accumulated over probably many, many years in that same property or home. And based on that, you just don't want to take it upon yourself. And I get it. However, the problem of delaying it until that decision no longer is yours, meaning you're reactive based on a health condition or something that happens, instead of being proactive and taking matters into your own hands. The difference between the success of being reactive versus proactive can be dramatic. So I'm going to encourage you today to create a plan and to be proactive. And that means taking the baby steps on the way to the final goal. You may have heard another cliche, do you know how to eat an elephant? And the answer is one bite at a time. So you may be facing an elephant today with regards to your move. It can be managed in chunkable pieces. Okay, so creating the plan is first and foremost. Part of that plan then is communicating it once you've made it to your friends and family. Now, I want to stress that we're not asking for permission necessarily. We're informing to get input. So it isn't going to be, well, should I do this? You've already made that decision. That's why you're here. You know you should do it either now or in the near future. And now it's just involving the other people to the extent that they might be able to be helpful. Number 3 is surrounding yourself with professionals. As a real estate person, I would like to apply for that part of your real estate or of your professionals that you surround yourself with. My guess is if you have a home, you're going to be working with an agent to help you sell that, and possibly if you're looking to purchase again, to help you buy. So that would be something, if you chose, that I could help you with. However, there are other people that you will encounter along the way. It might be a moving manager, it could be an estate salesperson, it could be your accountant, it could be moving companies, pods, all of those different things. Your lawyers as you draft maybe some of the other things that you haven't drafted yet as far as that next stage of life. Part of that last move is getting everything in order, meaning all of your house, not only your physical house, but also your financial house. So I'm going to encourage you to seek legal, if you have not already, seek legal assistance in the drafting of the documents that might be necessary in the next stage of housing and in your life. So those are some of the professionals that you're going to be encountering in the course of this move. One of the biggest ones is dealing with a house full of possessions. Again, you probably accumulated stuff over many, many years. And a lot of it is just that stuff that you haven't touched or used for many, many years. And in some cases, you may still be warehousing items from your children or for your children to be someday given back to them or given to them. What you'll find out during this process is what they do and don't want, which will finally give you permission maybe to give some of it away or throw it away. And number 5 is where we ultimately want to go, and that is celebrating your new lifestyle. So this is a journey with a happy ending at the end, meaning nobody likes change, myself included, but ultimately what we tend to find is that if we're making positive change, that once we've made the adjustment, that we come out for the better. And that's my goal and my hope for you. Okay, so creating that plan and your future lifestyle. A lot of that's going to be based on your health and your needs. So what you need to think about is, what do I want? Do I want to live in a retirement type of community, like the villages? Del Webb, for example, is building a couple of those in the Twin Cities. Or do you want to go to an apartment? Do you not want to own again? Do you want to live half the time here, half the time somewhere else? Maybe a different state to be closer to friends or family? So you have to start thinking about, for this next stage, this next move, is what do I want and what do I need? Part of that question is, where do I stand financially? So we may have a disconnect between what we want and what we can afford. And if that's the case, then we need to figure out what best we can do with the resources that we have. And then once we figured those two things out, kind of matching our housing based on where we want to live, what we can afford, and our health, is what do we need to prepare for that move? Well, I'd mentioned some of the options, but they're broken down here on this page in a little more detail. We'll cover some of that in the next handout, but it could be an independent senior living community where you can kind of come and go as you please. There really aren't any medical or very light medical, I'm going to say, help that's provided at those places. Assisted senior living community just means that, assisted. So they might have maybe some meals, some light services, maybe transportation, maybe somebody medical on staff or available. Memory care, that means where you're unable to make maybe some of the decisions that you need to for yourself, by yourself, and so you need some assistance because memory is failing or has failed. A long-term health community, that can combine some medical components to the living that you have in meals and other things that are all a little bit different. A continuous care community might mean where you check in over here and you move throughout the community as your health changes. The cost may increase, it may not. There's different arrangements with those types of communities, but it means that you would basically start at one end of it and maybe finish at the other end of that community. Planned adult communities could be like the Del Webb properties, Sun City, the villages, just to name a couple of the popular ones. But you may not be ready to go into that, and you would just want to downsize from a house and the work associated with it to some form of a less maintenance type of housing, like condos, townhouses, patio homes, something where there might be an association that alleviates some of the responsibilities that go with housing, a traditional type of house. And depending on your finances, maybe it'll be some form of subsidized housing. Some of the newer communities that are being built, the apartments, they oftentimes will reserve a certain portion of the units for subsidized housing. A lot of people don't realize that, and they think, well, I don't make enough money to live there. And that might be true with regards to the market rate, regular rentals, but they might have some units that are reserved just for subsidized housing. It might be Section 8 or something else from the community. Second step is communicate with your friends and family what your intention is. So how do we do that? Well, you could do it in writing. You could do it in a little small meeting. But you're not, again, asking people for permission. You're just telling them what you're going to do and see if they have any constructive, positive input on how to make that move a little bit better. What you'd want to do is share your preferred living arrangement and professional people that you intend to use. You may want to create a written document outlining. I think it's good, again, when you're doing your planning, that you don't do it all up in your head, that you actually create kind of a flow chart so that you can check off the boxes as you move through that flow chart. And then you may tell people on that chart, or your friends and family, I'm going to need help here, I won't need help here, and inform them of your intention, and again, get their input for assistance as necessary. What you could do is write a letter to your friends and family, especially if they're out of state, and let them know that you've done some research, and I'm going to give you some resources to do that here in a little bit. And you could pick an outline, for example, what you found with regards to the communities that you're considering, and the floor plans, and possibly the cost and other amenities that they might provide. So that's something, if your support network isn't here, that you might reach out and provide to them. Again, here are some of the people that you're probably going to be hiring or working with as you make your move. Again, this is a big step, I know. That's why you've not done it yet. But again, something is telling you that you need to consider making it sooner than later. Again, being proactive rather than reactive. So the first one over here, real estate agent. Again, I mentioned that that's what I do, having done that for over 35 years. Now, I can help you coordinate some of these other professionals that you might need as part of what I do. So if you need a move manager, if you need a discount to some of the movers, Remax has that available. We have discounts through a couple of moving companies, as well as pods and pod-like companies. Mortgage lenders, we work with, if you decide that you want to get a mortgage again on your next home, whether it's a traditional mortgage or a reverse mortgage, and I'll be explaining that in the next section. I can provide you with names, as well as attorneys, interior decorators, house cleaning services, financial planning, insurance agent, and the different communities and title companies. So these are all the things that you're going to probably be interfacing with, and I can help you coordinate some, if not all, of these services. Everybody needs support, as long as, we all feel like we're independent. We don't want to ask for help. That's, all of us don't want to give up that independence, and we don't want to burden anybody. So sometimes we don't reach out, and other people would love to help us, not necessarily do everything for us, but provide some assistance. So reach out, let us know where we can help, and you'll find that a lot of people, if they're asked, will be more than helpful, but they don't want to be intrusive. So sometimes what you perceive maybe as a lack of willingness to help simply means other people don't want to bother you. So just ask, and you'll be surprised at how people really do want to be helpful. Okay, one organization that's out there, if you're looking for a move manager, is a National Association of Senior Move Managers. There are some right here in the Twin Cities that have a very good reputation, and you can hire them to actually be maybe the step-in if your relatives or family is too busy or just is not located here. So there is a organization that basically, it's sort of like a pseudo mover organization that can coordinate some of those services for you as well. So the big step is going to be deciding what to keep and what to get rid of. Now, you've been accumulating items again for years. You're probably going to be moving into half or a third of the current square footage that you currently have in your existing property. So you can't take it all with you. Now, I did have a client that did take all of it with her, and she basically moved from a hoarder house to a top to ceiling boxes in an apartment, and where it was, not conducive to living. So that's what you don't want to do. You need to let go. And what some people will do is put stuff in a box, and if they find they haven't gone back to that box to take it out, then they're free to give that box away. You may be having that, waffle maker that you're going to use someday, or that extra blender, or I'm just making up a couple things, or some clothes, that you've been maybe going to slim down or wear again someday, and if they don't fit now, it probably isn't going to happen. So I'm going to give you permission in this video to go ahead and get rid of some of those items. So let's go through what you're going to kind of have to make some decisions about. Furniture is a big one. You probably aren't going to be able to take that big dining room set with you, or that cabinet where you've been storing, your china. You may not have room in your new place, depending on what you downsize to, size-wise. So you're going to have to let go. So furniture, toiletries, eating utensils. My guess is you probably have more pots and pans than you need. If you really were to break it down, you probably are only using a few of your items. There might be some heirlooms that you can give away or sell. What you'll find is that if you approach your friends and family, that they may not actually want some of those things. So make it available. You'll find out what they want or don't want, and then you can make the next decision. That goes with sentimental items. A lot of times, again, parents will store maybe some things from a child's early life. Maybe it's their artwork, maybe it's their toys, thinking that someday that child may want that. What they may find out is that the child will give you permission to get rid of it. So I find that to be the case. And we'll go in and find a house where people have been storing stuff, and the kids don't have the room at their own house for what they have presently, let alone some stuff like that from their past. So ask them, they'll probably tell you to go ahead and throw it out. Disposable items, things that have no value. Again, you're decluttering. You don't want to take your old life with you to the extent that it's overwhelming. So feel free to give up some things. Make charitable donations. You'll find that there are places like ARC and the Salvation Army, Bridging, other places that would more than welcome some of those items so they can recycle them and get them in the hands of another person. Trash. Now, one of my clients had an estate sale where they didn't know what to give up and what to keep, and he had diabetes and couldn't really do much, and he had a couple kids. Two of the kids were helpful, maybe not so much with the other two. So they got a dumpster. They hired an estate company. What happened was that the estate people went through and priced everything to sell over the weekend. What they didn't sell and what was of no value, they threw in the dumpster, and anything else they gave away to charities. And it was done over a weekend. It was planned so that when it was complete, it was done. And then there may be some valuables that you want to sell. So again, take it with you, sell it, or give it. Okay. And as you adjust to your new lifestyle, be aware that you're going to have mixed feelings. You're going to maybe miss that garden and miss that backyard. And again, you may have even had a family or raised a family in the other property. So now you're in a new property, it's half the size or a third of the size, and you don't know the neighbors yet. And it's a new environment. So those are going to be some fears that you're going to have. But after you get through that, because it's going to be a transition, after you get through that, it is going to be a positive. As you transition to your new life and you're happy and settled, you'll be wondering why you didn't do it earlier. Now, everybody is different. So that transition period and feeling might take a little bit of time, but expect that. And sometimes we need a little support, and I'm going to encourage you to reach out, and even if it's beyond your comfort zone, extend your hand of friendship to your neighbors and be a little bit outgoing, because again, sometimes people don't approach you simply thinking that you want to be left alone, where you wish they would approach you, and they're doing, so they don't know what you're feeling and you don't know what they're feeling, but most people are very friendly and again want to be helpful. So I'm going to encourage you to be a little bit out of your comfort zone and reach out in your new property that you're moving to so that you can meet new people and start that next phase in your life. So that's kind of what I just covered here, is staying active or becoming active, maybe taking up a new hobby or a skill. And you may say, well, I'm too old for that. You're never too old to learn. You're never too old to have a new experience. Keep in touch with family and friends. Focus on physical activity and good nutrition. That's the key to staying healthy in our later years, is being active and eating properly. There are a lot of senior activities that you can do, some online, some through the senior centers. And again, you've made a transition. Make sure you now get out and enjoy it. So thank you for covering this part of the class. Again, here's my information, John Mazzara, and a copy of my card. All right, I'm going to stop this screen sharing and I'm going to go back and share some other stuff with you. All right, let's look at some PDFs next. And let's talk about this one first. This is a study by initially Johns Hopkins University and Franklin Templeton, and it was actually Lord Abbott, and then it was purchased by Franklin Templeton. And they created this study. This is about 12 pages. We're just going to talk about kind of from a macro level some of the things that you need to be aware of. Okay, so what's inside this guide? First one is retirement realities, tough talks we need to have now. So we're going to do a checkup from the neck up. All right. And we're talking about profiles of aging, the changing demographics, care and housing options. We touched on some of those in the last slide deck that we looked at, but we're going to look at some of those in a little more detail. We're talking about considerations in the housing decisions and formulate a plan. Okay. You know what? We never shared that screen, did we? Okay, then I am going to go back and share that. Okay, so let's go back. I was just going over this. Unbeknownst to me, I wasn't recording it. So let's take a look at this here. It's a book by Franklin Templeton. And again, it was started with Lord Abbott and Johns Hopkins University. It's called The Hidden Costs of Aging. Okay, we're going to go over retirement realities, profiles of aging, care and housing options, considerations in the housing decision, and then we're going to formulate a plan. So we're going to have some overlap from what we talked about and then some. Okay, so retirement realities. So as we retire, or as we decide to transition, some of the things that we see people doing is doing in-home remodeling to making the home more, I'm going to say, retirement friendly so that you can stay there longer as your health changes. Might be widening doors, adding grab bars, having one of those, first alert buttons that you push, adding a ramp. A lot of people want to stay in their home as long as they can stay in their home, and I get that. It creates that feeling of independence. And so if you're going to do that, make sure that you properly equip your home so that it can support you in the event that you get in trouble, that you don't get hurt. Okay, the profiles of aging today is that there are 10,000 baby boomers that are turning 65 each day and will so for the next 20 some years. So you can see the population of baby boomers by 2030 is going to grow by over 20%. We're going to go from 43 million to almost 83 million by 2050. So in a very short period of time, we will have a number of seniors, and all of those seniors are going to need various services. A number of them will need specialized housing. So we go from being what we call our go-go years to our slow-go years to our no-go years. And as we transition primarily based on health, we have to look at different housing to match that. And that's what this last little bullet says. We go from traditional community being a regular homeowner to maybe some services being provided to maybe where we aren't able to take care of ourselves at all. Okay, life expectancy is increasing. So whether you're on various different types of medications or you've had numbers of different surgery, what we're having is an extended lifetime. A lot of times people should plan for at least a 20-year retirement in retirement. So if you're retiring at traditionally at age 65, we're going to add another 20 years to that. The median age, depending of what part of the country you're in the northern part, like in Minnesota here, the life expectancy is a little bit longer, but it's 83, 85 years old. Women tend to live a little longer than men, and that's something you need to plan for, both financially and otherwise, that you're going to be here for a few more years, probably a lot of years. So what are some of the options? Now, we talked about this in the slide deck a little bit, but you can get supportive services where you have people come in, or you can move into more of a housing where it's provided as part of that housing. So let's take a look here. So we have 55 independent living communities. That's again where you are going to move in. They're going to offer you classes, services. It's more of a social, active type of lifestyle. And then as your health might start to change, you may have to move out of that community simply because they're not medically able to provide you those types of services. So you might look at moving from a very active community to something that can be more medically appropriate for you, depending on the services that you need and if you choose not to hire them out. So that could be something like the continuous care community where you again move in and then a lot of the housing options are provided to you over time. The health options and housing options start to shift. Then you have the assisted living communities. Now those are where you're going to be provided some services, but not, intensive services. The intensive services are going to be provided more by the skilled nursing facility. So that's like the nursing home. You might have a lot less mobility and maybe some cognitive problems that would put you in that type of a community. So we start from being independent, and then we pick different options based on our needs. And so this is what the housing consideration chart shows here. We're going to age in place as long as we can until we decide that we need to maybe do something different. When we move into the independent living, that could even be an apartment. It doesn't have to be a full community, but it could be another property in and of itself. But the 55 independent living communities provide generally more activities than you would be getting on your own or with a traditional apartment. Then we talked about the continuous care community, onto assisted living and the senior nursing homes. There's a big cost difference on the type of care that you would get and where you would get it. So if you're hiring a PCA, like a personal care attendant, or somebody to come in, that might be, let's say, $20 some an hour to do that. It can be hourly, it can be by the day, it can be by the month. Here we have a chart that breaks down what the cost of these different facilities over time. And you can see the most expensive is the nursing home option. And that's because it's the most care intensive. It's the basically 24/7, right with you having a provider accessible to you. Nursing home semi-private's kind of right there. It's just a little bit cheaper. And then you can see going on down. So depending again on your resources, depends on where you get to go. And if you have, let's say, for example, a long-term care policy that's providing the ability to private pay, you'll have more control over your housing options than, let's say, if you've spent down all of your assets and you're on Medicaid. So there's, your ability to pay is oftentimes determined by where you're going to be able to stay and the amount of care that you're going to be able to receive. It all starts again with formulating the plan. And again, that's going to be based on your financial and on your health ability. And then we can help you figure that out with regards to housing options once we've discovered what you have to work with. So one of the things you want to do is speak with a financial professional and a realtor like myself. Determine what you can do based on your resources and your health. Then we help you identify those resources where you can do a match or have a match. And we can create the plan for you and work with you to fulfill it and implement it. And you want to document all of your wishes, like we talked about earlier, with your family so that they can be there to help participate and guide you in helping you make the right decision. Okay, and last slide here is just that Franklin Templeton provided this and in the conjunction with Johns Hopkins University. Okay, I'm going to stop this screen share. Oh, you know what? No, I'm not. I'm going to continue. I'm going to show you a couple other things. Here's the family caregiving guide. So let's go up to the top. So the family guide to caregiving. If you have friends and family, the family could be friends, but it's the guide to coordinating with other people, some of your needs and what we're going to need for you to get to the next stage in life successfully. First one is starting the conversation. Again, you're aware that something might need to happen, and so that's why you're here taking this class. So the Family Guide to Caregiving is going over starting the conversation, discussing what you have for medical needs and where you might be able to get those needs met. There are some legal matters that people tend to not want to take care of, especially in the early part of the life when they don't want to acknowledge the end of life. However, we do come in and we all come into the world the same way and we all leave the same way. And so we might as well plan for what will be ultimately the inevitable, and that is putting the proper legal documents in place. So part of this transition, if you haven't already done it, or if they need to be updated, is reaching out to your attorney to craft your wills, trusts, power of attorneys, your medical directives. All of that should be for the next stage, because this next stage in housing might be the last time that you move. So it's a good time to get everything in order. You also want to review your other items like your investments and your insurance policies to make sure your beneficiaries are done correctly and that things are going the way that you want them to go. Meaning when you pass, that they pass to the proper people. A lot of times people need to update their wills if relationships or things have changed. And a big thing that people often forget is to check the beneficiary designation on their insurance and their retirement accounts. A lot of times, again, things may be going in a direction that you wished you had changed and you just never got around to it. So to avoid that, you need to do it. Now, if you don't do these things, then the state will do it for you. So if you don't have a will and you don't have proper beneficiary designations, the state will do that per state statute. And again, that may be or may not be where you want things to ultimately go. So part of making the move is getting your entire house in order, not just your living arrangement, but your financial house as well. Things that you can discuss with your attorney besides just a basic will might be a trust and all of the other, healthcare directive documents that would be appropriate for you to look at. Takes a team, and so I am one part of the team, and I do play well with others. So if we were to involve everybody, I can help you coordinate and give you some recommendations or work directly with the people that you work with. Okay, I'm going to share another resource. If you're looking at not purchasing but renting, or again, more or less being a renter, but also co-ops and things too, where you're kind of like a renter, you're buying in. One of the resources that you might want to look at is the Senior Blue Book. And this covers all of the different types of housing, and there's tabs, and so it's organized for you. So let's say you said, well, I want assisted living. You could look up the tab in here and see the ones that are in the metro. So it's just a handy resource. Everything's kind of on a grid, so it's very organized for you. Another resource similar to that is the Senior Housing Guide and Resources. It's another free book. You can see where you can go to get that. A lot of times these are provided to senior centers, but you can order these, and these are both online. So you can go to either spot and you can look where you can visit it online, or you can get a hard copy. So with that, I'm going to end this section, and I'm going to take it up again in part 2, where we dig more into your house proper and the real estate, how things have changed in real estate from when you started many years ago probably to present.